Hey guys, what's good? Welcome back to JDB Selects. Time for another match breakdown. This one is super interesting in my opinion. It's the round 4 clash between the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Manly Sea Eagles at Accor Stadium in Sydney. And just quickly, if you do enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like on the video and get involved in the comments. I do appreciate it. Now, we are starting each of these match breakdowns this year with a season snapshot, starting with South Sydney. South Sydney got past Cronulla in round 1, and then went down in narrow games to both the Penrith Panthers and the Sydney Roosters. Their two losses were obviously close. They lost to the Panthers by 6 and the Sydney Roosters by 2. I think that's quite interesting when you factor in the fact that Souths only completed around 60% last week. Following on from their game against Manly this week, they will then face the Storm, Bulldogs, Dolphins, Panthers and Broncos. And if they are to be a chance to win a lot of those games, they really need to improve their ball handling and errors. Another interesting thing to note about South Sydney's draw is they do not receive their first bye until round 16. It'll be really interesting to see how that plays out with injuries and fatigue, especially when they come up against teams that are coming off the bye themselves. And as for Manly, they are sitting pretty in the top 4, having won both of their opening games and enjoying the bye in round 3. Manly started really strong against the Eels last week, but let them back into the contest late, winning 34 points to 30. They face the Rabbitohs this week and then have a string of mixed games coming up. Some teams like the Knights and Tigers and Titans, as well as games against the Panthers and the Storm. Manly's bye rounds are pretty evenly split throughout the season, so I think that is also good news for Manly and Sea Eagles fans. Looking at their previous meeting, the two sides last met all the way back in round 8 of last year. It was fairly even at halftime, with the Rabbits going to the break with a slim 18 to 16 point margin. But by full time, the Rabbits had pulled away and won comfortably 40 points to 22. Now, one thing to note about this game is this was when Carl Lawton was sent off in the 8th minute, so Manly did have to play pretty much 70 minutes a man down, so it's not surprising that they would fade late and South would come on strong. I do remember watching this game, and despite being down a man, Manly did show some real grit and resolve to hang in there for as long as they did. Obviously, they had a pretty even split of possession, and their completion rate was superior against Souths, but obviously having a man down, the fatigue got to them at the end. Moving to the teams list for this one, the Rabbitohs will be without Hami Saleh, who failed an HRA last week and has now been ruled out under the NRL's new 11-day mandatory stand-down period. There's more bad news for Jason Demetriou and Souths fans, as Shaquai Mitchell suffered a foot injury in the side's loss to the Roosters last week, as well as Tevita Totola facing 4 to 6 weeks on the sideline with an MCL injury. Daniel Saluka Fifita comes into the starting side alongside Jacob Host, while Blake Taaffe, who was 18th man last week, joins the bench. As for Manly, coach Anthony Seibold has gone with the same squad that managed to hold off the resurgent Eels last week. Both Paiseka and LOA accepted fines for their dangerous tackles against the Eels, so have been freed to play in this one. And as always, we do a key matchup for me this week. The easy option would have been to take Latrell Mitchell and Tommy Turbo. Both of those players are obviously inspirational leaders to the side, and rugby league in general is a better place when both players are fit, healthy and playing well. But I have gone instead for the 5'8" in Cody Walker and Josh Schuster. It hasn't been the best start of the season so far for Cody Walker, as tends to be the case when Cody is under pressure or too emotional. He doesn't play to the best of his ability, which is I think what you saw last week against the Roosters. His kicking average so far this year is a wee bit higher than you would come to expect from Cody Walker, and he has forced 3 line dropouts as well. I think Cody is due for a big game. Like mentioned before, he does get emotional and that can hinder his performance, but I think going into this week he will have no reason not to be focused at the task at hand and should put on a good performance for the Rabbitohs. And on the other side of the coin, you have Josh Schuster, who obviously played his first game of the season last week and looked absolutely outstanding. He produced 3 try assists, 1 line break assist, and was instrumental in getting good ball out to Tommy Turbo and that whole left edge of Manly. Some of his little chips over the top were just sensational. He's a young player, obviously only 21 years of age, but he already plays with so much confidence. It's exciting to see where he'll go, and fingers crossed that he does not tweak that calf that has been giving him some issues as of late. This is one of those classic matchups between the wily veteran in Walker and the young budding superstar in Josh Schuster, so great matchup here. I think both players will go a long way to deciding who wins this one. Thanks as always for watching. Get involved in the comments, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.